Hello, everyone. I'm finally going to sit down and share my thoughts on the 2021 Eurovision Song Contest that was just held this past Saturday, the 22nd, in Rotterdam, the Netherlands. I'll also be talking about the semifinals last week. I had decided, instead of doing a separate video like I did in 2019 for all of the three events of the competition, I was just going to roll it all into one at the end because that's just the level of care I'm putting into the contest this year, because I lost a little bit of interest when the contest got canceled last year in advance when I was reviewing every single song. And of course, we were all still mourning that. So it has been 2 years, and the first time in Eurovision history that we are looking back to a winner 2 years ago as the preceding winner, and the country allotted the winning role to be the host. So it's about time we had a 2021 contest, and it was the contest we all needed to see. And I'm happy to say that overall, I am pretty happy with what I saw going on with this contest. I actually am more impressed. Going into it, I was a little concerned. I was a little concerned about what chicanery was going to be going on here with some of the voting and what qualified and what the final scoreboard was going to look like. There were definitely some major surprises. I think there were some placements that no one saw coming, and I'll get into all of that. But before we do, I want to talk about semifinal 1, which was the first part of this contest last Tuesday. I'm not going to spend time talking about every single performance, particularly with the semis, because this video would be way too long. I'm really just going to touch on the best of the best and the ones that I think really bombed, and just any other thoughts I felt like needing to share about what I saw. But I will let you guys know that this year with the semis, I actually didn't watch a lot of the performances for the semifinals. I ended up watching after they aired the ones that didn't qualify, because that was the only time we were going to get to see them on stage. And so I figured I might as well watch those. But I actually, for a lot of them, not for all of them, but for a lot of them, just in the interest of time, I didn't watch the performances that a lot of the qualifying countries gave for the semis. I waited until the final show so that I was sort of seeing them performed live for the first time instead of the second time, which would give some people, more perspective if talking about how they improved from the semis. I've heard some people say that a lot of acts really improved, like Malta stepped up their game, Belgium stepped up their game from the semis, which is good to hear. It's always better to hear that a country did better in the final than they did in the semis, although you could argue that the semis is somewhat the more competitive part of the contest, because they are really battling for only 10 spots. But the grand final is where you really want to put your best foot forward. You want to go out on the high note. So with all that being said, just keep that in mind as I'm talking about these semis. And I'm probably really just going to be talking about the songs that did not qualify. And starting with semifinal 1, first of all, looking at the qualifiers that did go through, you all probably know who they are. I'll put them up on the screen, but you know who they are probably if you're a Eurovision fan. I'm really happy with the songs that went through, with one omission, one very glaring omission. Justice for Croatia.
How dare you!
Albina with TikTok. If you watched my ranking initially of all 39 songs, I had this song at my number 2 spot. It's a pretty lofty spot for a non-qualifying pop song. Truth be told, I may have dropped that song down a few places in subsequent weeks. A lot of it was just, that was an initial earworm song. I just really liked the beat and the production and the choreography that was served in the music video. I was so bedazzled by that I was just instantly wanting to place it high in my rankings. However, after seeing the live performance and having the song live with us for about 2 months, I'm realizing it's not quite all that. A lot of people said this song would have benefited hugely from some form of a revamp, like Israel did with Eden's song. And I definitely agree. As much as I was worried that they would definitely revamp it too much in a different direction, it could have used a little bit of something more in the production, potentially, to capture people's interest. I am going to, for the first time while I'm making this video, look at the official results for the semifinals, because they don't put them out right away, to be fair to the actual grand final contest. And if I'm not mistaken, looking at these results, Malta clearly won the semifinal. They got the most points from the jury, but they didn't get the most points from the televote. The most points from the televote actually went to Ukraine, which Ukraine came in second. Russia came in third, which, my goodness, that really warms my heart. And then Lithuania came in fourth. The juries really did Lithuania dirty here. Only giving them 66 points was, I think, quite criminal. Israel, Cyprus, Sweden, Azerbaijan, Belgium, and then, as I suspected, the 10th place spot went to Tix with Norway, Fallen Angel by Tix. Croatia just missed out by literally 5 points from qualifying below Norway, and those spots needed to be swapped, honey. Norway did not deserve to be in the final, especially over Croatia. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say it. Obviously, Norway ended up finishing pretty low in the final scoring, about where I expected it would. So that all went well. That all went according to plan. But Croatia deserved that spot. And all of the other 9 songs that qualified, I think, all of the other songs that didn't, looking at the top, the other ones, Romania, then Slovenia, Australia, North Macedonia, and then in bottom place, Ireland, getting a whopping 4 points from the televote and 16 from the jury. Sorry, Leslie, but I do agree here. I would probably have swapped out Romania for Ireland's spot, if I'm being completely honest with you, because out of all of the songs that we have in semifinal 1, Romania was my least favorite. One of the biggest shocks for me was that people were not warming up to Romania as much. And, I think it was just the staging and her vocals. It just was very lackluster. The song kind of worked when it was this, produced studio cut, but I really did worry about how processed her vocals were in the studio version and how that was going to sound on stage. So overall, I really do feel like Roxanne, I'm actually seeing a lot of people agree that the song really couldn't make it. And I was surprised because I thought I was one of the few people who was not a fan of this song. So I was happy that it didn't qualify. I'm sorry, I've just got to say. And the other ones I think were not a surprise. No one thought Slovenia, Australia, or North Macedonia were qualifying. I don't think anyone thought Ireland was either, really, realistically. So the semifinal broke down pretty much how I thought it would, but I don't think that, Albina's performance was bad by any means in the semi, and she definitely deserved to go through. But that's just how the cookie crumbled. The semifinal 1 was definitely more competitive. Semifinal 2 on Thursday. So it's no surprise, without even looking at the results, but I have just looked at them. Gion's Tears took it home with semifinal 2. Getting the most points from the jury at 156 and a decent televote score. So, Switzerland, bravo. Switzerland is the entry that I was the most excited to see win. I've got to be completely honest with you. However, I did deep down kind of have a feeling it wasn't going to. And there were a lot of reasons why, and I'll get to that in the final. And then Iceland really came through at second place. It's a shame that Iceland had to be somewhat sidelined because of that positive COVID test. I did hear that after returning home to Iceland, one of the female band members actually did test positive again for COVID, but she's feeling fine. Just reminding everyone to be safe. Because, it was so wonderful watching this contest. And as my mom, who doesn't follow Eurovision, but does enjoy watching the grand final, when she was watching the grand final, she was like, is there really that many people in the audience? There's a lot of people in the stadium, don't see a lot of masks. The truth is that, Rotterdam was doing a pretty good job at keeping the virus under control, making sure we could have a somewhat socially distanced, but somewhat back to normal contest. And it was a really promising thing to see. And hopefully we do not see any more flare-ups from the virus amongst people who attended and the contestants. Unfortunately, it was inevitable that there was probably going to be 1 or 2. And unfortunately, Dathi and Gagna Magnet and, of course, Duncan Lawrence as well, it was unfortunate. They all were victims of a positive COVID test. But hopefully they are all feeling better. Bulgaria came in third, so that was impressive, a performance for her. I was very happy to see. However, I did not see the semifinal two performance of it, so I can't necessarily judge if she was better or worse in the grand final. Then Portugal, Finland, Greece, Moldova, Serbia, San Marino, and then 10th spot went to Albania, which makes about sense, who I definitely don't think deserved to qualify. There was definitely a country that was super shocking. It came 7th in the rankings here, Moldova. Natalia Gordienko with Sugar. I'm going to be real with you. Throughout the whole contest, I mean, she just looked happy to be there. That song did not deserve to qualify. I don't know what happened. The televote really blew them away. I mean, they only got 56 points from the jury, which honestly is still kind of high. Still kind of high for a jury score. But getting 123 votes from the televote, I mean, that'll do it. I'm not as surprised that the televote's a little higher. But I don't know what the jury was thinking, giving them 56 points. Ironically, they also gave Serbia the same amount of points. So they obviously just looked at those two entries and were like, they're the same thing to us. We'll just both give them 56. But Serbia only got 68 points in the televote, nearly half of the votes that Moldova got. So I don't know, some interesting voting. I've seen some people say the stage manager, Kirkorov, for Moldova is a bit of a shady character. Some of the internal politics that go on, he does things to sort of boost the outreach of the artist he is representing. And that probably had a reason to do with her somewhat impressive finish for a song that lackluster. She ended up actually finishing on the left side of the scoreboard when all total was counted. Very shocking, very shocking. Denmark was the one not to qualify. They were a bit under, which honestly I would have seen qualifying over Moldova. I was very shocked. All of the other countries that didn't qualify, I wasn't too shocked by. You know, Austria, Vincent did his thing. He didn't do anything wrong. But it was just so over, you know, it was just something we'd seen so many times before that I just don't think the public was really that galvanized by it. It's a shame. It's a bit of a repetitive song, too. Estonia, I mean, Uku has been trying for so many years to get into Eurovision, and then the year he finally does, he still doesn't qualify. It's a bit bittersweet. I liked one commentator said that the soccer and wine moms did not show up to vote for Uku, because I think that the wine moms watching would have been the ones to vote for him. I do agree they would have been the ones sending him through. Poland, Czech Republic, Georgia, and then bottom place was Latvia. Now, most of these are not surprising. You know, Omaga, Benny had really shaky vocals, and the staging, the choreography, it was just there was nothing there to the package. It was a bit disappointing. I actually think the song was a little bit better than what they gave on stage, and I didn't really like that song. I'm going to be completely honest with you. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was my last place in my ranking. So, you know, it's risen just a smidge over a few songs in subsequent weeks. But Samantha Tina, talk about another one who has been trying for Eurovision for a long time. That performance really did her dirty. She definitely almost was at a level of like, this performance needs to be redone, because watching it was probably the most cringeworthy thing I saw on this whole contest. It's a hard song to perform live. I'll give it that. It's not really, she's vocally talented, but you know, the change-ups that she has to do with her voice and the fact that she has such a powerful voice, it can be a bit abrasive, and also it can be very easily off key. So I don't really know how she would have pulled the song off more successfully in some ways. But what really let it down was staging being horrendous. I do not understand why the backup dancers were so isolated from her in one corner of the stage. I felt like they weren't really doing much of anything, and that they should have been more involved around her as sort of like a focal point. It would have made some more dynamic, expressive choreography. And she didn't really do a whole lot on stage herself. The green was just not really a fitting color for the whole. I get there's an earthy pagan goddess undertone to it, but I would have loved to have seen her in something more like rich blue, symbolizing the night, the moon. And then there was that unfortunate, and now this is not her fault. there was that unfortunate camera angle where the camera pans around her and you can see the guy with the gurney holding the camera. It was a complete snafu on the camera production crew's fault. On their end. And that is unfortunate because that's a level of like malpractice that honestly does almost give her the right to want to do another performance, a redo. My heart just really hurt for her after seeing that because the performance was already very shaky. I mean, she just couldn't get on key. Once you start, it's hard with a song like that to get on the roller coaster again. So unfortunately, I was really riding for this song. I had it in my top 10. That was way back when I was just thinking about the studio cuts. But when I saw what the staging was going to be, and after this, I did not expect this to qualify. I was not surprised. And it coming at the very bottom is unfortunate because I do think she gets a B for effort. You know, Georgia didn't really put in a lot of effort. Czech Republic didn't really put in a lot of effort. But at the same time, you know, the whole thing just fell apart on stage. It was pretty much a tragedy to witness. So justice for Samantha. I hope she's not too disheartened by this. It is what it is. But like I said, you know, I was a little worried for like acts like Portugal in this semi. I was a little worried for Portugal, and Portugal came through and came fourth. I'm really happy to see people were, you know, it's just a good classic song. It's just heartwarming. It's something anyone could like. I mean, it's probably a little too inoffensive in that regard, but I was happy to see how all this turned out. So let's move on to the grand final. So going into the grand final, like I said, I had only seen the non-qualifiers performances along with like one or two others that had performed in the semis. So I was going in with a fresh slate. So in summary, if I do just want to touch on any performances that I think stood out during this, before we got to the voting and what songs were just like really like wow when it finished. I mean, you know how I feel about Switzerland. I was so impressed by the staging, the high art sculptural aspect to the stage and the environment that he was in, the light work, the light choreography, not to mention the choreography he had to sort of capture the notes that were sort of like in the air around him. His vocals were, I mean, the falsettos were pitch perfect. The chest voice to falsetto difference in range. I mean, he's really got vocal chops. Really, really got vocal chops. An amazing vocalist. And I was just floored by the emotion of this track. Some of those longer notes that he belts out towards the end, they really just stuck with you and it had that impact. And so this was the song that I was really, really hoping would do as well as it could. And ultimately it came in third. So, you know, it definitely was going to be in the top three. That was a given. But it coming third was a little disappointing to me. But at the same time, you have to think about factors around other performers and also who won last time, making us sort of think, maybe this is a bit too similar to Duncan's entry from the year before. Maybe we need to do a little bit of a different sound, celebrate that. Might have hurt Switzerland in this case. Lithuania did exactly what they signed up to do. They took us there. They took us to the discotheque in this weird sort of Alice in Wonderland wonky universe, and I was so here for it. I mean, again, couldn't go wrong. I was also very impressed with Belgium. I know a lot of people, including Miss Michelle Visage on Twitter, saying, I'm not really feeling this. It's a little slow for me. Come on, girl. Come on. Not everything is hair extensions whipping it back and forth, okay? We gotta have a sultry, softer moment. And Portugal was another instance of, you know, bringing us down to that at-home, soulful, kind of tinged with country vocal. And Portugal was another one. The black and white fade to color was a really smart choice. Classic staging. They really showed their musicianship. Really did. And I gotta be honest with you, the other performance that I was really impressed with was Azerbaijan. I felt like Azerbaijan just, you know, the song was pretty high in my initial rankings because let's be real, it's an ethnic bop. It's female empowerment, it's wacky, it's fun, Eastern. I was all for it. But, you know, of course, Azerbaijan, there's some political things that come into it for me that do make it like my heart goes out to Armenia this year. You know, let's be real. The reason Armenia did not participate in the Eurovision Song Contest this year is solely because of Azerbaijan. So Azerbaijan being there and Armenia not. You have to think about these things a little bit. Unfortunately, Effendi has also sort of been a little bit on social media. The things that she's been expressing support for, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. We have a Gal Gadot situation here. But regardless of all of that overshadowing it, Mata Hari, I was excited for the performance and I was glued to the performance itself. Yes, she's channeling Ariana Grande, but you know what? She's not the first person to do that at Eurovision. So she can rock that high pony and that catsuit choreography. No problem. She was actually one of the few female performers who was not wearing a silver sequined bodysuit. Which I must admit, my mom remarked and was like, is there a memo here? Does every female performer need to wear a silver sequined bodysuit? Because it's getting a little old. Granted, you can't really go wrong with neutrals like a black or a silver. It's not really going to clash with anything that's going on stage. Unlike with Miss Samantha with Latvia, I think she was clashing a little bit with this bright green. So I can understand why it's a safe choice to go for, but I applaud like at least Stefania with Greece with the purple. I know Michelle Visage, again, was not a fan on Twitter, but I think it actually really helped, keep a little bit of a bold impact. It gave her a color thematic to work with. So another thing Azerbaijan did well was probably one of the best use of backup dancers. I think Malta and Azerbaijan had that really going for each other. The backup dancers were very engaged in the performance, centrally focused around the singer, and it just felt very well executed. Now, I will just say Serbia for me with Loco Loco. It's one of those songs you kind of have to be, well, for me at least, you have to sort of be forced to appreciate, at least because you've heard it so many times by this point, you've gotten accustomed to it. Serbia for me was still the bathroom break of this contest. And I know as a gay male, I am risking I'm risking execution by saying this. Because all over Twitter, I'm just seeing so many gays go crazy for Hurricane. They're just absolutely foaming at the mouth for this. And I don't know, I gotta question, how their ears are working, because my parents agreed that it was a whole lot of noise and a lot of hair flipping. It looked sexy, but it was not a lot of substance. There just wasn't a catchy enough beat to get you to want to dance along with it. It was just sort of manic. And this is not to say that I don't like a high octane pop moment with a thumping four on the floor, that 808 drum, the disco beats. I love that. Don't get me wrong. I love that. But Serbia didn't really understand how to put that all together in some sort of rhythmic cohesion. And they put way too much into the mix. That being said, they have some really strong vocals. Their vocals are strong, and so I think that definitely made them in my eyes deserve to be there. They're the kind of act I would have grudgingly put in the final. Unlike Moldova, where the vocals were shaky, they at least had really strong vocals, and they can do the choreo. So, they're doing what they came to do. It's just not my cup of tea. And to be completely honest, I was shocked. I was shocked at the televote scores for them. 82 points, not even 100. I was very shocked. And another country that really flopped was San Marino. I think a lot of people expected the juries to, not be too kind. But in fact, the juries were almost twice the amount of points that they got from the public. 37 points from the juries, only a measly 13 from the public. I feel really bad for Senhit and Flo Rida. You could tell that was probably the most disappointing vote reveal because, unlike some of the other countries at the bottom, I don't think they were expecting much. That was like the Jan Lundvik moment from 2019, where it's like they're hyping you up to get a lot of points, and then it's like 13 points, and you can tell their face just drops because it was not what they were expecting. They deserved a lot more than that. So unfortunately, San Marino, now don't get me wrong, I do think the performance was a little all over the place. I do appreciate, that costume change at the beginning, the rotating platform, the way she worked with Flo Rida on stage. It almost worked for me, but something did feel a little misorganized. I can't quite put my finger on it, but she was in tune, maybe had a little too much help from backing vocalists. That was a lot of that being projected through the audio. But, overall, I definitely think that San Marino deserved a higher placement. Okay, so looking at all of this, let's really dive down into the scores here, starting at the bottom. We have to talk about the UK. This is another part of the video that will get flagged for controversial opinions. Bring it on. I was just reading a tweet by Piers Morgan on Twitter, which you can imagine said what it said. You know, of course, Piers always has something to say about everything, especially UK related or Eurovision related. Except the unfortunate thing is that I actually kind of agreed with him. But I don't agree with the snarkiness, the rubbing it in James's face. Because I will say right off the bat, James took this like a champ. I mean, he definitely did deserve that standing ovation applause when they got nil point. The first time in the dual jury split public jury vote system for a country to have 2 zeros. That has not happened before. And we've also never had so many zeros from the public vote. 4 countries received zeros from the public, only 1 from the juries. Now, ultimately, do I disagree? No. Because, I mean, you just got to look at the material. Luckily, I mean, a lot of people were in agreement that no one expected this to be on left side of the scoreboard after seeing that performance and the staging. You know, I will say this, you know, Michael Rice was really done dirty by poor staging. James Newman was done even dirtier. I mean, I don't know what it is about the UK. They just do not seem to care. And a million people have said this. I mean, how many times do we have to get it through to them? The singers they employ have real talent. They're just not being used in the right way. However, Michael Rice came in dead last in 2019. This is the second year in a row that the UK has come in dead last. They did not get 2 zeros last time, though. And I will say, because I think the jury's allotted them like a tiny bit of points, Michael Rice did not deserve to be bottom place last time. That was truly criminal. That was truly criminal. This year, it is pretty deserved. And of course, a lot of people are going to disagree, and they're going to think the opposite, that this year he deserved a much higher placing than Michael Rice getting last place. They're like, well, the song was blah and generic, whatever. But then look where Sweden placed, okay? Look where Too Late for Love's placed. The same song sent from a different country, okay? We've got an issue there. 2 very talented vocalists. So with that being said, James was not the right artist for this performance. James is actually a singer-songwriter. You know, he's much better, I think, behind a guitar or just singing without having to do any choreo on stage with live instruments. He gives off that energy. And the song that they were going to send last year, while I did not love it by any means, would have been much better suited for his stage presence and his performance and for his vocal ability. His vocals did not suit the song. His ability to dance and have stage presence did not suit the song whatsoever. They should have seen this coming. The styling was horrific. The giant trumpets, it was like parade float level cheesy. Not a whole lot of thought obviously went into the whole concept of it. And then on top of that, it's just a forgettable, bland, basic pop song. You could have seen it do really well on the top 40 radio, definitely, especially a decade ago, but it's not enough for Eurovision. And as a lot of people are pointing out, by the winner of this year's contest, as well as previous years, this is not the Eurovision Pop Song Contest. This is the Eurovision Song Contest, and their songs don't have to be pop. In fact, the skew of results is showing that pop is not really as all that and hyped by the audience as more interesting alternative forms of music, maybe some more classic rock or some more alternative indie stuff. That seems to be actually really galvanizing the public. I liked one person described the sound of Embers as Love Island pop. I think this song was designed to play in a montage of a bunch of Love Island contestants in bikinis and swim trunks rubbing cake all over each other and having a fun time at the villa. That is the perfect summation of the level of basic common denominator that we're serving with this song. It's just fun, and it's just sexy, and it's basic as hell. And that's all it's ever going to be. And so I really want to be careful to not like bash James so much in this whole thing. So when Pierce says that it was a crap song and a crap performance, he was right. But when he says that it was a crap singer, I take a little bit more offense, because I do think that James has real talent. He's obviously done a lot of great songwriting in, you know, other songs he's written for in the UK. He's actually pretty well known in the music industry there. he has real talent. It was just not being used correctly here. And I do believe, unfortunately, based off of the performance, zeros in both categories was fitting. It just would have made a lot more sense if Moldova was sitting right next to the UK with those 2 zeros, because Moldova did not deserve anything either. And Moldova scored at 13th place, which meant they were on the left side of the scoreboard.
I shouldn't be up here.
Pretty criminal, I will say. Now, Germany coming in second to bottom, again, deserved. Germany got 3 points from the juries. I have no idea what the juries were thinking giving them any points, because they also deserve double zeros. Here's the thing. I know it's fun, and it is kind of unique and tongue-in-cheek, and it's a moment, but it's just too much. It's just, my parents were like borderline offended by the middle finger on stage. I'm surprised they were able to get away with that, to be completely honest with you. MIA, justice for MIA at the Super Bowl with her middle finger, because boy, he was that woman was strolling around giving us the finger nonstop the whole song, and no one was having to censor anything. No one's getting sued. I can't fully articulate how much this song bothers me. In that, I don't know. I just am frustrated with Germany in not taking this contest very seriously. And I feel like Germany and the UK are 2 countries that are in a very similar boat. They've both been doing pretty poor, UK more so, but both have been doing pretty poor in recent contests, and need to really reevaluate the way they're selecting artists, serving something really more fresh and potentially more introspective, something that's not just a by the numbers X Factor thing. Because Sisters was terrible. Sisters came in second bottom last time as well, because they just couldn't really sing well with each other, and the staging was so bland and basic. It was like, what's happening here? So yeah, I'm very disappointed with Germany and the UK. They're both in a similar state here. As far as political stuff, I really don't think politics came too much into it this year. I really don't. Look at Israel. Look at Israel. If it was purely political, no countries, besides maybe Azerbaijan and Russia, would be giving Israel any points. Spain, I feel bad for Blas. I don't think Spain deserved to come this low. I think everyone expected Spain to be in the bottom 3. I really do. My parents were really into it. They were like, I like this. And then I told them, unfortunately, I think it's going to come last. And they were like, really? Like, this is so great. I've seen a lot of people say this was the bathroom break performance. It's very generic, and it's not that memorable. The inflatable moon did a little bit of something, but I agree, it was sort of an Austria problem. I do think that it just wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough, especially in a competition like this year. And then with Gyeonggu, the other country to get only 0 points from the televote. I'm not surprised it got no votes. I mean, it's the host country. It's always going to be facing that uphill battle. I was interested to see how this was going to be staged, because the music video, I think, is really well done. But then I felt like when we saw it live, it wasn't really matching the artistry of the music video. I do think they could have done more with the staging. I do think the choreography and costuming could have been a little bit more prideful. I don't know how else to say it. It was understated in a way that I feel like undersold its message. And if you don't go, I mean, this is going to sound kind of bad, but if you're going to go with the Surinamese, African heritage aspect, then you do kind of need to lean into that to make it more memorable to people, to make people realize that this is more than just a man singing about broccoli, which unfortunately the general public, that's all they're sort of seeing, which is, I think, borderline there's some racist stuff going on there. But it is what it is. No one expected this song to do well. And I feel for Gyeonggu. I don't think his vocals were as well displayed as they would have been in his entry from last year. And it wasn't going to do that well. It was sort of doomed from the start. So San Marino coming just above, again, deserved way higher. I'm cool with Albania's placing. I'm cool with Azerbaijan. Belgium deserved a little bit more than 3 votes from the public. Let's be completely honest with you, but I'm not surprised. People were probably not feeling that enthused. I think a lot of people were probably going to the bathroom during that performance. Norway coming in 18th spot. It could have been lower. Israel at 17, Cyprus at 16, Serbia at 15. Honestly, I'm okay with all of this. Sweden, this is one of the worst jury performances for Sweden in a long time. Only 46 points from the juries. And of course, the televote only gave it 63, which was about how we expected it to be. Because, the televote never goes that crazy for Sweden anymore these days. Yeah, Tusse, oh man, he's so well styled. His voice is so beautiful. But we've heard this so many times. It was Jan Lundvik all over again. The song was too generic, lyrically repetitive. It wasn't going to grab people the same way. So yeah, Moldova, what are we doing? Swap Moldova and San Marino. I think we'd have a more fair scoreboard here. Portugal making it into the 12th spot. Really happy about that. They actually got 12 points from a certain country. I can't remember which country gave them 12 points, but I was so happy they got 12 points from a country. All right, so the next couple countries are the countries that did get 12 points, although I think Serbia and Cyprus each and Israel got 12 points at one point as well. Bulgaria coming in at 11th, Victoria. Vocals were a little shaky. I'm not going to lie. Her vocals were a little shaky. It had me a little bit worried. I also think that the performance, she sort of was like on this brutalist sculpture that I was thinking it would look more like a sailboat or a sailing ship, but it was sort of just like this very angular rock structure that I wasn't entirely sure how it fit the high art thing she was going for that Switzerland did so well. Not entirely sure it paid off to the same extent. But I'm impressed that Bulgaria made it to 11th place. I was really worried for them. And then we have our top 10. And I've got to be honest with you, very, very happy with this top 10. Greece, Russia. Oh my God, Maniza's performance was so important. So important. I had the biggest smile on my face during her performance. From the opening, giant costume. I believe it was a ton of fabric that women had sent from her, from the country of Russia, folk costumes that had deep folk meaning to different regions of Russia. I loved how she sort of was on this animatronic dress, moving around the stage as if she was sort of being tossed back and forth between the backup dancers around her. It was brilliant. And then when she comes out and she just spits fire, like absolutely, you don't need to know what she's saying, you just feel it. And then the Zoom call background with all of those women in the background showing solidarity. This was a huge moment for Eastern Europe. I'm really shocked that Putin didn't try and censor this song. I mean, I know the lyrics had to be changed a little bit to enter the contest in the beginning. But I mean, for a country like Russia to send this song, I mean, is pretty big. And I hope we don't see Russia reverting back to being very generic and people-pleasing. Because I actually thought this song was going to be quite divisive. I thought that people weren't going to really be behind it. But the public really loved it. I mean, 100 points from the televote. That's 3 digits. I was really shocked it got that many votes from the televote. It also got pretty much the same score from the juries, 104. So it was split right down the middle, 204 points. Well deserved. To the fact that it made it into the 200s, I'm so happy for Maniza. I wasn't seeing enough people talk about her and what she was bringing to this contest. You know me, I love a female folk Slavic power out moment. I loved Polly Shee from 2 years ago with Poland, the babushkas from like a decade ago from Russia, those old women. I love those moments on Eurovision. They're some of my favorites. Okay, so Lithuania coming in at 8th. I would have liked to have seen them higher. I would have probably swapped them with, maybe Finland or something. But hey, they deserve to be up there. Malta. Malta was another country that was really robbed by the televote. If you want to talk about flops, San Marino and Malta, what was going on with that televote? People just weren't feeling it. I mean, maybe... I don't know. Malta's a small country, and also maybe people just felt like it was a bit too much of a derivative Lizzo type song. She does kind of sound a lot like Lizzo. She has amazing vocals, but she was definitely serving, the beginning of the show, we put all the powerful female, besides Azerbaijan, which was washed way at the back, we really loaded the beginning of the show with like all of the female power anthems. We had Russia, we had Cyprus, we had Albania, and we had Malta, all at the beginning of the show. Serbia wasn't too far in as well. And maybe it was a little too much altogether, because what it did was it sort of detracted the impact of Cyprus, the impact of Malta. They were all placed together in the running order, and they didn't really have a place to shine individually as their own, because I think people were sort of like, can we have a song that's different? Oh, Portugal's on. Oh, Portugal's the first song to have some live instruments on stage. Though keep in mind, live instruments are never live on Eurovision. You need to remember that. Nothing is plugged in. Nothing is plugged in. They're miming stuff. Only vocals are live. So yeah, Destiny, she looked so heartbroken. I think she could tell that she wasn't going to do as well. I mean, I was predicting top 3 for her. Honestly, I was predicting Italy, Malta, Switzerland for the top 3, and it's not quite how it went down. So anyway, that's not what I wanted. It's just what I was predicting. Finland, I was so here for it. I was so here for Finland. They did exactly how I expected. I was actually thinking 6th place for them, 5th or 6th. And then Ukraine. Now, I will say, the staging for Ukraine didn't blow me away, but it was still really well put together. Again, one of my favorite performances of the night. Some really great camera shots. I think they did a really good job at having some really, intimate camera moments with Katerina, and also with the flute players and everything. It told a story. It was twisted, and it was kind of hard for some people to get behind. Ukraine got the 2nd highest televote score. They got 267 points. When they said that, I was shook. I was like, could Ukraine win this? Could Ukraine seriously win this? If Italy doesn't come through as much, Ukraine's got this. Like, I was shocked. I was shocked that they jumped so high, because the juries, they were kind of, weren't doing so hot. And 97 points. I'm so proud of Goe. I'm so proud of them. Justice is served, because I was worried for them in the 2020 competition. And I actually like Solove just a smidge more than Shum. But, oh my God. Top 5 finish for them. So proud. Iceland, they deserved 4th place. They really did. Now, would I have personally maybe put them in 4th? I don't know. Maybe I would have put them in 6th or something, swapped them with Malta. I don't know. It's Lithuania even. It's hard. It's hard with these top 5. I'm really proud of all of them. The instruments they were playing, the shape of the keyboards, it was the perfect level of cohesive staging that really sold this morsel of nostalgic throwback fun. It was a bit dorky. It showed their personalities. It was just real. It was just that. And it was like, wow, this is what makes Eurovision so wonderful. Also, shout out to the jury point deliverer person during the point allocation process for Iceland, when he said, play Ya Ya Ding Dong. We were laughing nonstop. And for those of you who have not seen the Eurovision movie with Will Ferrell, please do. It's on Netflix. For those who didn't understand that reference, for a second, I felt like we'd entered into an SNL skit, because when I saw that guy, I was like, wait a minute, this feels very SNL. Like he looks like just some random guy you picked off of a harbor in Reykjavik. Like, who is this guy? So it was very smart, very funny. I really appreciated that. I feel like they need to do more of that, because sometimes that process can get very boring, all the people phoning in. So Switzerland coming in at number 3. Again, they won the jury fair and square. They got a 267 points from the jury. Ironically, Ukraine got 267 from the public, so they both shared that number. Gyan, you were a winner no matter what. You did that thing. You really did Switzerland proud. And then we have Barbara with Voila, 499 points, 251 points from the televote. Very impressive, very impressive. But I will say, a tad overrated for me. Again, like I said, would have maybe liked to have seen Malta or potentially even Lithuania take France's spot. I know that's a little harsh. Barbara's performance was top 10 regardless, probably top 8, maybe even top 6. She was always going to be up there. I really respect what she was doing. Just for me, I wasn't getting into it as much as I'd like. Edith Piaf, the whole French thing, I took French in school. Maybe it's just a bit of an aversion that I have to like being overexposed to French things, but it was just a little too French for me. I don't know. I don't have a problem with French things. I really don't. I promise. But it's a bit cliche. It's a bit too predictable. At points, it's just voila, voila, voila. I was like, okay, I get this. It's really well sung. And the emotive way the camera was focused on her, and I felt like I was in an Audrey Tautou movie. It was nightclub energy in Paris in the 1920s. It was giving that energy. I felt like she needed to have a cigar in her hand to complete it as she was singing. Like it just had that energy. And as an artist, I appreciate that. But for me, it was almost, like I said, just a little too cliche, almost a little too predictable. It was like formulaic French 1920s, 1930s ballad, like just copy and paste. But she deserved second place. I mean, she said that her song was not Eurovision. She was like, I'm so proud for you to come around to a song that's not Eurovision friendly. And I'm like, no, girl, you need to understand that the Eurovision Song Contest, I mean, look at 2017's win, look at 2019's win, look at, 2016's win. This is not the Eurovision Pop Song Contest. Your song is actually very Eurovision, especially French Eurovision. So you're serving exactly what the public want to see, because I think there was a lot of nationalist pride. I will also say this: Switzerland really was fair with the juries. Switzerland gave France their 12 points, if I'm not mistaken, or Italy, one of those countries, which let's just say France and Italy did not exactly return the favor. France, especially, was a bit shady with some of the point allocations. So there was some weird stuff going on with the point allocations there. But lastly, we do have to talk about Italy. Måneskin. This had winter material. I think a lot of people predicted this. A lot of people called this. I was still kind of like, I don't think it's going to pull through. I somehow felt like France or Switzerland was going to do it, or even Malta. I was feeling like those songs they seemed to be more like what Eurovision would be as a winner. Italy just seems so left field, but then at the same time, I'm like, it makes perfect sense. And honestly, for the genre diversity, I'm happy to see a glam rock song, just an alternative live instrument band song like that win for the first time in a long time. I don't think a band has won Eurovision in quite a while now. It's been a lot of solo performances. And so it's important to sort of break that up a little bit. And a Swiss win would have been very similar to wins we'd seen recently. So, and even a France win. So that kind of song. So I can somewhat understand the energy was there, the performance. It was, I think in the stage run, in the running order, it was also benefited because it woke people up towards the end of the show. And it just galvanized the televote to give them a whopping 318 points. The jury placed them in like 4th or 5th place, but the televote was just like, nope, you're going right to the top. And there really wasn't enough points for Switzerland to overtake it by the end. We all knew it was going to be Italy. Now, as for that whole controversial thing, he was not doing drugs. It looked suspect, I'll agree. But, it's a shame that that's sort of clouding their win. I'll be honest, they did say in one press release, like, we don't do drugs at all or something like that. We don't stand for drugs. And I was like, really? I'm kind of finding that hard to believe, just judging by your upbringing in the punk scene and everything. But regardless, I mean, you guys know they wouldn't have been doing that. That it did look a little unfortunate. That one shot was unfortunate, and I agree. I think they did need to explain it to us. So I'm not going to come for people bringing that up, because some people are just like, "Oh, shut up! It's not important." And I'm like, "Well, it did look kind of shady, but it's been clear they've taken the drug test and everything, so it's all clear they're not going to be disqualified." And it is a shame that they had that sort of immediately after the win. We're going to Italia next year. I think a lot of people are very excited. Italy has not hosted Eurovision since, I believe, 1993. They won in 1992, and then I believe it was hosted in Rome in 1993. Fact check me on that again, though. I'm not 100% sure on that. But so it's been, since I've been alive, since Italy has hosted. So 28 years. So it's a nice homecoming. I'm seeing a lot of different countries are already starting to put their hat in the ring. We've got Rome, of course, Turin, which I believe Turin is actually hosting the Olympics in a few years, the Winter Olympics. It's still a little ways away. And then Zaro is another city that's put their hat in the ring. So it'll be interesting to see how, again, we don't have to wait so long for the next Eurovision contest. God forbid. We don't have to wait 2 years. It'll be here before you know it. Time is flying by. But Italy deserved that win. It's not my favorite song. I mean, if you watched my revanking video, I think I placed Italy at like 15th or something. It took time for me to warm up to it because it's not the kind of music I typically listen to. But do I respect it a lot? Yeah. I mean, the queer representation, the energy. I mean, it was just, it's the, as my mom said, she appreciated that you actually had a female guitarist on stage. We don't often see that. Usually the female is, it's either an all female band or the female is the singer. She was just a guitarist. Like, it was really channeling like a real gender bending kind of queer identity. And I was really here for that. The styling was really well done and everything about it. So I'm happy with it, and I'm happy about the message of it as well. I think that looking at the top 5 just makes my heart so happy when you look at songs that like what the UK sent, or what the Czech Republic sent. It's like these are the songs that people want to see. We have at the top a glam rock song. We have a classic 1930s chanson, as you could say. We have a very emotive power ballad. We have a 1980s groove electronica track, and then we have a indie folk electronica moment, rave moment. I mean, those top 5 are completely out of left field kind of songs, and they all are so individualistic. They're not pleasing everyone. They're not trying to please everyone. I feel like that's part of the problem that, the BBC and sometimes Germany and maybe even Spain and some of these countries, especially the big 5, fall into a lot, is they're just trying to create something that is so watered down and people pleasing that it won't offend anyone. And when you're not offending anyone, you're also not really uplifting anyone. It's kind of just like no wonder people aren't going to vote for you. There's nothing unique or personable about these songs. And I don't think they really galvanize the viewers in the same way. Yeah, everyone loves a song they can play at the pub when they're getting drunk, but luckily I'm seeing Eurovision audiences having real taste in wanting something unique, flavorful, ethnic, something to take pride in a certain genre of music that maybe hasn't been exposed enough in pop radio. Something different and something that's going to give them a sense of, traveling to another country they haven't been to, or being in a different space that, especially after this year with the pandemic, they haven't been able to be in. And I can see why, somewhat, and after the year we've had, these songs that are so transportative, that are so visual, that are so thematically encaptivating, that's what makes these songs so strong. And so I'm really pleased with the breakdown of this contest. Really, really pleased. I was so worried that the UK was going to get into the top 10 here. And I was just like, no, this is not the song. This is not the year for that. And some of the other songs, I mean, they really didn't live up to the expectation, like Serbia, for example. And I do feel for Malta. I do feel like they could have easily won this. But again, I feel like, similar to Switzerland, it would have been another Netta with Toy kind of moment, and we've just done that. So we're going in a little bit of a different direction, and maybe the juries recognize that, as well as the viewers at home. So those are my thoughts. What are yours? I'm sure you have a lot of things to say and some things to disagree with about what I said, but it's all just my opinion. I really enjoyed watching Eurovision this year. I was pleasantly surprised after being very disheartened about the cancellation last year. I'm ready for 2022. Eurovision content on this channel will come back next winter. Don't worry. But we're going to take a break from Eurovision now. And I will see you all in my next video. Please give this a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you are new. Thank you all so much for watching. Peace, love, and light. Ciao.